Why, hello, everybody. This is Eric Vierthaler of Sit Down by the Fire. I'm here with my next special guests. Please introduce yourselves. And ladies first.
Hello, I'm Amy Mackie. I play Olive Oyl in Shiver Me Timbers.
And I'm Paul Mann. I wrote and directed Shiver Me Timbers.
But yeah, thank you both so much for sharing that. And thank you both so much for taking time out of your day to be here.
No, thank you for
Welcome.
having us on. It's a
It's awesome.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, certainly, of course, anytime. And so I guess my first question is, I'm just really curious what exactly was the origin, like, of Shiver Me Timbers?
Well, when you say origin, like, how did it come to be?
Yes.
Well, I wrote the script for Popeye Horror around it about a year before the copyright dropped because I knew that we could then do it. And, I wanted to do something really silly, a lot of fun and gory and ridiculous. And that was basically, we got the script and then we went through the motions of making the film, casting, you know, getting everything together. And that was back in, gosh, 2023.
Yeah, and I mean, it just feels crazy knowing that 2023 like was already 2 years ago. So wow, I mean, time just zooms on by, right?
There's a reason for that. We didn't understand the American law on copyright drops. So we
Hmm.
made it in 2023, knowing that on January 17th, the copyright would drop, but you're not allowed to do anything till the end of that year.
Makes
So we had
sense.
to
Yeah,
wait. We had to wait almost another year before we could release it.
makes sense. Yeah, and yeah, and I mean, of course, I also have met other people who have done the same thing, like about how they're allowed to make the movie, but it's just legally they are just not allowed to release it up until when so and so property and then becomes public domain.
And there's still a lot of issues around trademark stuff,
Yeah.
which is why our Popeye is a little bit different from the other ones because we weren't sure about, even though the copyright might drop, the trademark lives forever, and we didn't want to step on any toes. But I think that played in our benefit in the long run.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just so and then that way, you actually more so make it your own.
Yes, and we're the only ones that can merchandise because our film's called Shiver Me Timbers, and we couldn't have merchandise if it had Popeye in the name. So
Yeah,
there you go.
rocking that merch, Amy.
Oh yeah, free repping.
Absolutely. And so yeah, and so Amy, and I mean, I can imagine that like that for you, that it must feel pretty cool knowing that you got to play an iconic character. And as far as my knowledge goes, the last time before Shiver Me Timbers was made, because as far as my understanding goes, is that Shiver Me Timbers was the first Popeye horror movie, and before you, the last time somebody played your character like was Shelley Duvall, and so how does that feel?
Yeah, absolutely mental. Which is obviously, she's absolutely amazing. Such big, shoes to fill as well. I know Tony said that about going into such big shoes himself from that same movie. But yeah, honestly, it's amazing to be honest. Like I feel very lucky.
Oh, I can imagine, especially there's really not that many people out there who actually can say that they got to have the opportunity like to play an iconic character. So
Yeah, exactly. And like I mean, it is my first feature film as well. So to have a massive opportunity like that, like in my first actual feature, I could never have actually dreamed and believed that that was going to happen. So thank you, Paul, for
yeah.
seeing that
Yeah, you're
potential.
welcome. You're welcome.
Oh yeah, and so I guess out of curiosity, how did you prepare your role then?
So we did a lot of things. Paul gave me a lot of homework for a start. Watching a lot of movies like Evil Dead, Reanimator, loads of movies to sort of make sure I knew exactly what the vibe was and where a lot of the inspiration and the references come from. With it being set in 1986 as well, like I wasn't alive then. I didn't really know what life was like at that point, so I had to do a lot of research to find out exactly what was going on in Ollie's life at that point in time. Um, a lot of, well, actually, one thing I did was I made a music playlist. I actually made 2 music playlists of Ollie, and I used to listen to that to get into her head a lot. I made one that had songs from only prior 1986, and then I had one of like modern day music as well. That I feel like if she was around now, like she would listen to that. So that kind of really helped me in a lot of ways. I do that for a lot of characters because it really helps me get into their head because I have such a massive connection with music myself. So I think that was like one of the main ones that really helped. But yeah, just lots of stuff like that. Just find out about MIT as well. I had to research a bit of that, make sure I know exactly like what she was looking forward to doing in her life as well before all this happened. And one of the first things I did was make sure I could actually like answer 100 questions about her, just to sort of make sure I understood like, well, a bit more of the basics, but a lot of her life, to really be able to embody her as well. And yeah, a lot about America as well, research wise.
Nice. And yeah, and I mean, I also have heard of like a lot of the actors like on shows such as Stranger Things, which were set in the 1980s, and of course, all the young actors in that show like were not around during the 1980s, and so and then therefore they and then had to ask their parents, and then and then do a lot of research about how exactly was it like in the 1980s. It's because if you weren't alive then, you can't just know.
Exactly. That's so true.
I was alive. I was alive.
I asked Paul.
That's awesome. And yeah, and yeah, and so and then therefore, you actually were alive, like to get to see a lot of the great movies that came out at the time, like Terminator, Predator, and so on and so forth.
I saw them all in the cinema.
Nice.
First time round. I saw Elm Street in the cinema, and I was technically underage at the time. But first time round, I was there. I I saw Bon Jovi when they were opening act for Kiss.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So that's me really showing my age. Um, but the films that inspired Shiver Me Timbers more were the likes of Trauma, Toxic Avenger, Class of Nukem High, those 80s films that were more VHS, not so much cinema. You used to go into the video store and get these, what's a Trauma, like a lot of, there was more comedy, horror that was around in the VHS days. That's what was the inspiration, was me going into the video stores when I was like 13, 14. That was where as opposed to the cinema.
Well, that makes sense, and yeah, and then when I watched the movie, it definitely did have that 1980s like horror vibe, and of course, it makes sense that it even takes place in the 1980s, and heck, like even the music, and I mean, even the music even felt like something like that. It came right out of the 1980s.
That was Ryan, who composed all the music, and he went for that 80s synth wave. You remember, you've rented videos tapes from the 80s, and they've got that synthesizer soundtrack. That's what we wanted. We were trying to mimic that a little bit more. He took it up a level, threw in a little bit of Nine Inch Nails vibe, just because we could, and I love that band. But basically, that's we wanted to mimic, especially the Italian horrors from back in the day. They had that synthesizer soundtrack. So yeah, that was deliberate, very deliberate. And when I was talking to Amy, about the music and everything, who I saw her, one of the names that constantly came up was Susie from Susie and the Banshees. Initially, we wanted Amy to wear a Susie t-shirt, but legally, it could have been done, so we went for the more sort of olive oil stripy shirt.
Nice, awesome, yeah, and yeah, and I mean, when I watched when I watched Shiver Me Timbers, I just got the biggest smile on my face. It's because even though I wasn't alive in the 1980s, but But a lot of my childhood definitely did consist of watching a lot of 80s horror movies like Summer Party Massacre and so on
Yeah.
and so forth. And so yeah,
Love
and
it.
I mean it definitely reminded me a lot of my childhood and teenhood of
Yes.
watching those movies. And yeah, and it definitely brought a really big smile on my face. And yeah, and I mean with this whole current trend of like turning childhood characters and turning them into horror movies, I mean I got curious. I was like, okay, what's gonna go public domain in 2025? And then I saw Popeye whoopee, and I'm like, you know, I'm willing to bet someone's gonna make a Popeye horror movie, and ta-da!
Well, yeah, there was three of us made Popeye movies. There was three of them. So yeah, I mean, you knew it was going to happen, and I'm sure come next year, whoever's dropping the copyright will probably end up in a horror movie or something as well.
Probably, yeah. So, and then with that said, I guess question for both of you. Have both of you seen the other two Popeye horror movies?
Amy?
Sorry, you broke up there. I was trying to figure out what you said. I'm so sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so my question for both of you was: have either of you two seen the other two Popeye horror movies?
Honestly, I haven't yet, but I'm going to. But no, I haven't watched them yet. But I'm
I've
going
seen
to.
both. I've seen them both. You know,
Yeah.
they're very different from our film because our
Oh,
film
definitely, yeah.
our film does not take itself seriously, and in some ways we got that juvenile humor. Um, those lean more towards a serious type of vibe compared to ours.
Yeah, and but yeah, the only other one I've seen like is Popeye's Revenge, and yeah, Amy, I guess if you're curious, you don't have to pay for Tubi, which is really nice about Tubi. And so yeah, so if you're ever curious about watching Popeye's Revenge, you definitely can watch it on there, like with no charge. But yeah, Popeye the Slayer Man though, and I definitely gotta admit, like that I definitely do love that title. And so yeah, if you want to watch Popeye's Revenge, go on Tubi. If you want to watch Popeye the Slayer Man, as far as what my understanding goes, is that they do have it on Amazon.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep my. I didn't
Yeah.
know that Tubi was free of charge as well. So there we go. Thank you. Yeah, it's Amazon
Oh
that
yeah,
I've used, so that's perfect.
oh yeah, certainly, of course, and yeah, and so and then with that said, out of all the scenes that you filmed in this movie, what would you say was the most fun?
Have a guess.
Uh, I think I have an idea, but it is a spoiler, so if you
Go
Yeah,
for
I
it.
know. I don't want to spoil him, but let's just say the one where I get to use my toy, we'll call her. That was the one I was looking forward to the whole shoot because yeah, I don't want to say too much. Obviously, it is a spoiler, but yeah, she was someone else. That was an amazing shoot. So much went into that. So much preparation. So much. Well, we had a crane and everything, cables. Because she's a heavy gal. So yeah. It was amazing. It was freezing. It was like the most soaked I got through the whole shoot, but it was definitely the most fun and the most powerful I've ever felt. So
oh, definitely, yeah, like wow, like, but yeah, when I saw that in the movie itself, I was like, oh, yeah.
It was a lot of fun. We got to say that well done to shout out to Harrison who created that. By the way, the production designer who man he's kind of he's a bigger guy, so for him to wheel it around, he could do it. He could do it. The moment we gave it to Amy, she would like just fall on her bum.
yeah.
Yeah, cause and I mean to carry around something as big as that, like it would make sense that it would have to be a big person too, and you know, I mean, it would be like saying that if you're going to expect to be carry weights, it would make sense to have something heavy to support it. You're not gonna put toothpicks underneath it.
No, no, we had a forklift truck following her around with it suspended, and then we obviously we had to take the wires out in post production, but that was how we did it. But even the backpack area was, whew. It was heavy.
I know I should have lifted more weights before that scene, but I
She's
did
gonna
not. So I've learned my
she,
lesson.
she's gonna have to go to the gym for the sequel.
I've
'Cause
already started the gym for the sequel. I actually have, so I am preparing.
Exactly. And so hey, and so hey, now you can take your experience working on the first movie now as a learning experience.
There you go. Yes, that is so
Yes.
true, and I did learn a lot. So that is very true.
So yeah, so besides that, what other things have you learned?
I mean, you learn so much about. I guess most of my like courses, although we did study film and screen, it was more of a theatre based course. And I have done like short films and stuff out with, but I think you really learn the difference of like screen and theatre acting. And then there was points on set where Paul told me like, oh, he was like, nah, you're theatre acting there. And honestly, hearing that, it helped so much. So yeah, honestly, it was just sort of understanding the differences there and not overacting as you do in theatre and stuff. Like, it's fair enough doing it on short films and stuff, but doing it for that length of time when you're so used to being on a stage, it was tough. It was tough, but Paul was a great director. Like, like for like there was a lot of people on set like me who hadn't really done a feature before, and you're really scared of obviously messing it up, doing too many takes or anything like that. But I am so grateful that we had Paul for like our first ever like director, because he was so chill. Like, he got us there. He knew how to get us there, but like just in the best way. Just so I'm very grateful for that.
We
Yeah.
shot the whole thing in 10 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
10 days.
Oh.
So yeah, the pressure was on, but it was never like, he never shouted at us, I guess. Like, he just knew how to direct us in a way that got us there without us making us feel like too pressured, if you get me, you know. But we all knew time was on, so.
Yeah, and I can imagine that with those 10 days, I can imagine that those must have been pretty long 10 days.
Oh. Amy?
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, looking back, it doesn't feel like 10 days. It literally feels like a year of my life. Like, looking back, like on the bonds that you sort of formed in those only 10 days and all the memories that we made, it does not feel like 10 days at all. And they were long. I mean, they were long for me, but obviously Paul and like other people in the crew as well, like, they had to go and plan for the next day. So, I mean, I was knackered, right? But, like, their work wasn't done yet, even when we were done. So, I don't know how they did it.
Myself and Ali, the producer, we were working 20-hour days,
Yeah.
4 hours sleep. Because
4 hours sleep?
yeah, 4 hours, yeah, because once you're done, sometimes we didn't get everything in a day. So we had to push it to the next day. So we would actually start the days with the kills, because we had to get them right in one day. But there were certain scenes, because of the blood and the guts and everything. So certain scenes, though, that were more talky, just conversational, sometimes they had to get flipped to the next day, and what have you. So there was, but because everyone was together for 10 days, it was a lot easier. There was only a couple of actors that were maybe there for like 4 days or 3 days. Amy was there pretty much every day.
I was there every day, yeah. I was happy to be
Yeah.
there, though.
Yeah, and so then in that case, working those long hours, getting that little sleep, I mean, working on this movie, it sounds like to me it definitely took a lot of resilience.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of coffee, lots of Red Bull,
Coffee, yeah.
and there's a Scottish drink we drink called Iron Brew, which is full of sugar. We were drinking tons of that. But the adrenaline and the fun, it was a lot of fun. We were having fun. I didn't feel it till like the very last day, which was the day we shot the opening of the movie with the car. Um, that's the day I suddenly went, okay, I'm done. So, but maybe that's because it was the last day and I knew it, so, but it was fun. We had a lot of fun. I mean, it was crazy. It was a young cast, young crew. We have a lot of people, Harrison and Charlie, who built the sets and did everything. You know, that was our first feature where they weren't assisting, where they were doing it all. Um, our makeup team, um, you know, it was so everybody was really mucking in to do the best they could. You know, it was a lot of fun. We had fun.
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, when I saw the movie myself, and I mean, you can definitely tell that you guys had a lot of fun making this movie. Like, especially with all the kills. I mean, I want to avoid spoilers about all of the kills. You know, I really, really want to talk about them, but it's just, you know, I got to be courteous of my
Well, which one?
audience.
Tell me which one was your favorite. You can break that.
It's hard to pick, you know. I mean, pretty much, it's like asking you who's your favorite child. Like, you know, you love them all, but if I truly had to pick one, probably the one inside of the porta potty.
Okay, okay. Brutal. Yeah, we had fire extinguishers, paint paint sprayers, big syringes. What you don't see is Hannah, one of the makeup girls, underneath them, just firing blood up at him, and then and then and on top of that, we added more blood digitally afterwards. There's just never enough blood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because you know, like as people say, the bloodier, the better.
yeah, yeah. It was a lot of fun. That one, there's two of them. There's also the kill inside the tent,
Yep, the tent as well. Yeah,
and it tends
that
to.
one was great.
That's a 50-50 of which one people like the most. You know, out of those two kills.
Yeah, because you know, what I think I like about the porta potty one is that you know a lot of times I guess you know I mean when you gotta go, but yet you know I feel like people get really claustrophobic inside of a porta potty, and therefore you already feel that sense of like insecurity inside of a spot that's already tight. But yet when you have somebody trying to kill you, and then in this case a killer Popeye, you know, coming after you, you know, it just adds to it. Because, you know, it's like, oh my goodness, like, where else can I go? And if I try to get out of the porta potty, you know, Popeye's there. So I'm
Yeah,
screwed.
yeah,
And inside of the tent, you know, people go into tents because they feel like that they're safe. And then when they have that sense of safety taken away from them inside of a tent, you know, it just adds to it.
Yeah,
just so you know,
again.
we won an award for that kill, the tank kill,
Oh yeah,
at the Romford Horror
that is
Festival.
cool.
That became like the worst kill, which is like the best kill, the worst way to die, and that was where we actually had the world premiere there. Um, and it's a horror festival over 4 days. We had the largest turnout for our film, and we didn't even know it was in competition. And then I found out from the organizer later that we'd won this award, um, which you know we still haven't received. I got to call him about that, but that kill went down well. You know, he when we arrived at the festival, he came right up to us and went, "I killed that you did inside the tent." I love that kill.
That is cool. Yeah, like wow, I genuinely had no idea that you guys won an award, and I mean, huge congrats for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
this brilliant film festival in London, the Romford, which is a real horror lovers. Oh, it's the best. If you're into horror, it's the festival to go to. 4 days, 8 screens. They have features. They do a lot of premieres. Um, they also do a lot of retrospective. Zombie Flesh Eaters was on in one of the other screens. And the best part was we had the largest turnout, which was something cool.
That is awesome. Like wow, like that's awesome, man. And I can imagine that every single one of you, like who are a part of the making of this movie, I can imagine that all of you just felt so proud of it, like knowing that all that hard work, you know, knowing that all that hard work that you guys put into actually got all of you to win an award.
Amy, what did you think?
Yeah, honestly, it was absolutely amazing. The whole festival was just so good, and everyone was like, even the next day, because we were there for 2 days. Even the next day when the film was on, people were coming up to us telling us how much they loved it and stuff. And it's like, oh man, all the hard work really has paid off. Yeah, it was honestly amazing. They were so good.
Yeah, exactly. And in my own honest opinion, I think that that's part of the joy of filmmaking is just knowing that all that hard work that you put into, and then afterwards people then see your hard work and then getting their feedback, and then just seeing people's reactions, and then and then actually seeing people actually be entertained like by something that you made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, we also screened it recently for a local Edinburgh B Team club, for B movie lovers in this little
Mhm.
theater. And I think that could have been the most fun. Amy, tell them what it was like.
Oh, it was so good. They were like, so me and the guy who plays my brother Brendan, we snuck in the back because there was no seats. It was a full house, so we snuck in the back, and we were like, "Oh, we'll just watch the start." But it was such a fun audience that like we couldn't leave, so we ended up just sitting down and like screaming with everyone. It was like every kill they were screaming. It was like a drinking game as well, and then they were just like, one bit I found really funny was, you know, this doesn't really spoil anything. You know the bit where like I'm in the tent and I'm like in the bag grabbing like the keys and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone was screaming. They were like, "Just take the bag! Just take the bag!" Like they were fully invested, and I was like, "Yeah, you know what? I should just take the bag." I was screaming at myself. But yeah, it was just such a lively group to watch it with as well. And then afterwards, we stayed around at the bar. Everyone was coming up to us, talking to us there, telling us how much they loved it. So yeah, that was a really fun screening to go to as well.
Oh yeah, and and then people's reactions to that. I mean, it just makes watching the movie that much more fun. And I mean, of course, you can definitely watch a film at home. I mean, no one's going to tell you otherwise. But it's just that to me, I mean, especially with horror movies, like it just enhances the experience. When you actually see the audience, screaming at all the scary scenes, and and then doing what Amy, just said, like you know it just makes it just such an unforgettable experience.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I love the cinema. I go, I go to the movies all the time. In the last 2 weeks, I went to see Final Destination, the new one,
Is it
and I
good?
went to.
Mhm.
Oh, it was great. The kills were
Oh,
great.
I've
Just
heard good things. Yes, I want to go see
Yeah,
it.
in my own opinion, I never thought I ever would see a death scene caused by an MRI, but
yeah,
I can say that I have it. Oh, that part where he snaps his back, like, oh.
Oh
yeah,
God.
it was great. It was so much fun. I also went to see Dangerous Animals, the one with Jai Courtney. He's feeding people to sharks.
Oh,
I
okay.
have
It's a
not seen that one.
Yeah, it's a Shudder movie. Um, it was more of a thriller than a horror, if you know what I mean. It's more about him. Um, but just to see it in the cinema, I wanted to see it before it went to Shudder, onto this, which I subscribe to, obviously. So, uh, yeah, you can't beat the cinema. It's the best.
Oh yeah, exactly. And and then with all these people saying that the cinema's dying, and and then services like Tubi and so forth are taking over. And I mean, I do get where people are coming from, but I mean, seeing the success of Barbie, like which came after COVID, I mean, there definitely is still a market like for people going to see a movie in the cinemas. And I mean, heck, even going back to what you two were talking about, like at all these film festivals, and heck, film festivals definitely also are a great way like to go meet like-minded people.
Yes, we met a couple of fellow Scottish filmmakers, bonded with them while we were there. Um, so it is great. We also did HorrorCon in Glasgow, which is a horror convention, and that was fantastic because it was all the Scottish horror filmmakers hanging out together, and I've actually become quite good friends with David Ryan Keith, who made the Redwood Massacre films, which are a great horror films made in Scotland. Um, so we're talking a lot. We're talking down the line, maybe doing an anthology. So definitely, it's the best horror conventions, horror festivals, cinema in general. So
Oh yeah, exactly. And I can imagine that it makes you two feel good. And I mean, knowing that with Shiver Me Timbers, it actually does help to contribute, like to justify, like for people to continue going to see films at the cinema.
one of the great things, because I know cinema. To be honest, in the UK, cinema's very much alive. Um, because what the cinema chains got smart, and if you subscribe to something like Sky Movies, which is like HBO, for the movies, the movie package, you get like 2 free cinema tickets every month with your package, and they keep the prices lower. So the cinemas in the UK is not hurting like I know it is in the States. But, and I think a lot of that was caused by COVID, because people started watching stuff at home. But you got to look for the positives. Up until COVID, a film could not screen in an American movie theater chain unless it had an MPAA rating. Now, our cinemas are hurting. Terrifier 3 comes along. They won't give it a rating because it's too violent. The cinema chain still took it because they want people coming in. And he managed to get it into the chains, unrated. So there is a plus there. And maybe that opens a door to where they don't have to have a rating anymore. It got rated here, uncut, 18. So, but in the States, I know it went unrated to the chains. So that's great.
Yep, and also on top of that, knowing that Terrifier 3 is now the highest grossing unrated movie of all time. Like
Fantastic.
yeah, it made $80 million worldwide on like a $1 or $2 million budget, and
Yeah.
that it beat Joker 2 at the box office. And then it drives me nuts when I hear people say, "Oh, it's an indie film, no one will ever see it." No, that's so not true. And I mean, there are plenty of independent films that people have seen, like Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and all three Terrifier movies. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there absolutely are people who will go see indie films, and I mean, heck, even Shiver Me Timbers, that's an indie film, and plenty of people have seen it.
Good. Good. Because we don't know. It's on streaming. There's no box office. We're still trying to work it out. But let's just say we hope a lot of people see it because we're making a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so about the sequel, so I understand it's not out yet, and you can't say a whole lot, but what all can you two say about it?
Well, it's not been shot yet. We're just gearing up to shoot it. All we've shot so far is the teaser. Um, what I can tell you is Amy's back. She was the final girl,
Yes.
and so Amy's back. Um, obviously, Tony's back as Popeye. It takes place in New York because if you remember, at the end of Shiver One, the DJ's talking about how there's now deaths happening in New York, just like the ones that happened in Northern California. So it takes place in about 6 weeks, 7 weeks later, and Amy is not alone. She has a friend to help her kick ass. And Popeye's not alone. There's another monster.
Ooh.
So we're
I'm
bringing more
curious as
people
to
in.
what this. Oh, I'm sorry.
We're bringing more. We're bringing more characters in.
Ooh,
You
definitely sparked my curiosity.
have to wait for the teaser. It'll tell you who they are. Um, but it's going to be a bigger film. It's takes place in like Little Italy, mob town. With the mafia, the nightclubs, Popeye, um, the other monster, Amy. We're bringing back some of the cast, well, majority of them. Uh, Castor Oil, Brendan's back in a sort of. It's more ridiculous, this film. It's bigger budget, so it's more ridiculous. He's kind of back in a sort of Jedi way. He's with Amy.
That's cool.
Um, um, so he's back, um, and I don't want to tell you too much else because it'll spoil it.
Makes sense. But yeah, when do you expect this teaser to be out?
6 to 8 weeks.
All right, cool. But yeah, as soon as the trailer's out, I definitely will be sure to share it.
It's more than a trailer. It's a little teaser scene. But it sets it all up, lets you know what's going on. Scylla's back. Celinda, Castor's girlfriend, because she survived, and she's back in a sort of Q. You know what Q was to James Bond?
Yeah, yeah.
Remember, she's Amy's Q. So she's back. The teaser doesn't give too much away, but it will let you know 1,000,000% who the other monster is.
Okay, cool. I mean, that definitely sparks my curiosity, and so yeah, hearing all that definitely gets me really, really excited for it.
Cool. That's the plan. That's the plan.
Okay.
So the film itself probably won't come out till late 2026, but we're not in such a rush because Popeye's out there now. Whereas when it was trying to get the first one out, we were trying to get it out quickly when the copyright dropped.
Makes sense, yeah. Yeah, definitely makes sense. With all the circumstances, but now the circumstances are not the same. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Amy, from your perspective, without giving too much away, besides all that you have learned, I mean, as far as what you mentioned about truly understanding the difference between theater and film acting, what other things are you going to apply for the second movie?
What other you broke up when you said after other there, sorry.
Yeah, so what other things have you learned, and like for the second movie, and what are your other thoughts about the second movie?
I know I'm definitely excited for it. I've been told a few things about it. Put it this way, I wasn't joking when I said I actually have started the gym to prepare for it. So there is that. I'll be applying my strength for a start. And I guess I don't really know much more until we actually get we've not actually read the screenplay or anything for it yet. But yeah, so I guess when we do that, then there'll be a lot more definite answers to that. But right now, I'm just sort of wanting to get myself in the best shape possible for it. So I am just focusing on that at the moment until we get more information. Then I'm sure we'll get much more research after that. But yeah, I'm taking everything I learned from the last film, of course, into the next one. Obviously, I know Ollie a lot better now as a character than I did before the first one. So yeah, and obviously she's faced a lot of trauma. So she'll be going in there with that sort of character building arc in there as well. So.
Yeah, and I actually just thought of this, which is the perfect comparison since that Terminator came out in the 1980s, and then it's kind of like with the transition of the character of Sarah Connor, like about how in the second movie when you saw her that she was a lot more bulked up. So it makes perfect sense.
Yes.
And they talk a lot about the Terminator in the first film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not looking to get really buffer in him, but definitely after using my toy last time, if you know what I mean, I'm definitely wanting to prepare because oh my god, the next day I was in so much pain. I was I'm 40, not strong enough for this. So yeah, we're trying to avoid that. But there is reasons that I will definitely have to get the strength up for that. I'm pretty sure that I will not.
Oh,
say.
definitely.
But
So I guess I'm just curious, whatever happened to that prop that you used after the movie wrapped?
It's Ali, the producer. The backpack and all that part is in Ali's spare bedroom, and the blade, um, the front of it, the front end of it, is in storage in the in a storage container with a few of the other props from the first film, and has ready to go. But what I can tell you is that particular prop will be twice the size in part two. So we're going to have to get Harrison to redesign something more lightweight but bigger. Um, but we've got it. We've still got that. It got covered in blood. It got covered in goo. We're cleaning it up, so we can take it to a few more. We're going to take it to the next HorrorCon because the film just got released in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. So the cat's kind of out the bag now. So come the next HorrorCon, which I think is in October, we can take the prop with us, for photo ops. So that's what we're doing with it.
Oh, are we going to HorrorCon? I didn't know that, Paul. That's good to hear.
Oh yeah, we're going to the one in Halloween in Paisley.
Oh, lovely. Right, I'll mark that on the calendar. Brilliant.
Well, that's pretty exciting, and and in my own opinion, you two may or may not agree, but it's just the moment when somebody asks you to take a picture with you, or they ask you to sign something, that is definitely like that's definitely like one of the biggest compliments that you could ever get.
Amy, you get that a lot.
I do. I know. I really have actually started getting that a lot, and I feel like I'll never get used to it. Yeah, it's mental. Literally, I was at a gig the other day, and someone asked what I do, and then they found it, and straight away they asked for my autograph. Like, they've not even seen the film, but they were like, "Oh my god, I want your autograph," and then I'm going to watch it. So it has been happening quite a lot. Which is, it's really nice, and it happened obviously at HorrorCon, both the screenings and stuff that we've had so far as well, and so I'm really trying to neaten up my autograph for the future posters that we cite.
Nice.
I think the best one was when we were at the Romford Film Festival, and they had some of the scream queens from the 70s and 80s signing autographs. From famous films like the Hammer, House of Horror films from the 70s, and they were selling their autographs for like £30, a go with their headshot. And I kept saying to Amy, I'm going to pay for you to get your picture taken with this particular screen queen that I used to watch, Pauline Pert. And I said, I'm going to pay. That's why it's like screen cream from then and screen cream from now together. It'd be a great picture to have. And then we were just standing talking, and this guy comes running up to us and grabs us and goes, Pauline wants her picture taken with you. To Amy. Remember?
I'll never forget. I was like, she wants her picture taken with me. I'm taking my hair. Like, oh my god, like we were gonna pay, and she actually asked us, which was absolutely mental. And she was so lovely as well. So we've I was honestly so good. I'm getting that picture printed out and everything. So
that was kind of fun.
And like it's just knowing that somebody has that much excitement and enthusiasm about meeting you, like it just truly just makes you feel good about yourself.
Oh, definitely, especially when she's like such an icon herself. I was like, no way, how does she know me? Like, it was honestly, that was probably, I think me and Paul agreed that was probably like the highlight of our weekend at Romford.
Yeah, I mean, I used to watch her all the time when I was a kid, so it was just, it was a lot of fun. For me, I always read the bit afterwards where it goes, I got my picture taken with Amy and Tony, who plays Popeye, and I heard the director was there. I'm just happy when they get their picture taken. It means people are watching the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing, yeah. And I mean, just hearing your guys' story about seeing it on, at film festivals, it just truly makes me wish that like that my first time seeing the movie, because I saw it on iTunes, and and I just really truly wish that could have been my first time ever seeing the movie.
It's more of a fun thing to watch with friends, in a group of people. Because let's be honest, it's ridiculous. It's over the top, deliberately. It's goofy, it's fun. It's when I envisioned it. It was like I saw a bunch of like frat lads, frat boys, sitting around, you know, drinking beers, doing whatever, watching it and having a laugh. I mean, your favorite kill, which is the outhouse, we all know how that ends up. What really happens to him. That's something you want to see in a cinema because it's a laugh. People laughed when Brendan drops his line, you know, um, about that kill. And, you know, it isn't the same seeing it at home. It is much better to see that kind of film in a cinema. I mean, I was lucky enough once to see it at a festival, Toxic Avenger, in the cinema, and it was completely different, because it's so ridiculous with the mop. He kills somebody, so it makes you want to laugh, and it's so much more fun than watching it at home. If you are going to watch it at home, I suggest you watch it with a group of your friends.
Yep, yep.
Not on your own, or not you and your significant other. Get like at least four of you together, have a few drinks. I don't know what you do. Have a drink, smoke a bong, whatever it is. Do it. Then watch the film because that's how it's meant to be watched.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, if you're gonna make a Popeye horror movie, I mean, you should fully embrace what it is. Like,
Yeah,
don't take it too seriously. Because I'm like, dude, it's Popeye the Sailor Man.
yeah, yeah. It's a sailor guy. Yeah. You've nailed it. It's how can you take that seriously? Somebody, a review I read online, somebody said, imagine Friday the 13th was made by Trauma and they switched out Jason with Popeye. That's Shiver Me
That's spot
Timbers.
on.
That's what you want to hear. Like that's brilliant.
And I was like,
That's
that's
so
a great,
spot on.
yeah. Because, I can't explain what Trauma influence on my life they had, Lloyd Kaufman and all his films when I was young. So for me, that was everything I wanted to hear. 'Cause that's what it is. That's what that film is. I also read a review where some guy goes, this is the worst film I've ever seen. These people don't understand that when you rip somebody's head off, they can still talk and wink.
I seen that one and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like,
Yeah, like clearly, if it's a Popeye horror movie, do you really think that they're aiming for realism?
I don't.
yeah, exactly. I don't think we're going for scientifically correct things in this
Oh,
film.
it's not a science documentary. If they want a science documentary, go on the Discovery Channel.
Well,
Yeah,
exactly.
but then another guy did a review and he goes, I don't want to spoil it, but he says, terrible film. Can you believe Popeye rips this man's head off and then does this and this? And he said it. And I was like, I can't believe you said that. And then so many people saw that review and then went to watch the movie because he says what Popeye does to her outhouse kill, you know. And people are like, I got to see this movie now.
Yeah, exactly. Reminds me of when Cisco and Ebert infamously gave Friday the 13th Part 4 like that bad review. You know, they're saying, "Oh, this is trash, and the people who made this movie should be ashamed of themselves." But that ironically got people to want to go see it even more.
Exactly. So when people, say something like what I wish I could say it without spoiling, but that just sells the movie for us, and that was intentional. We wanted people to, I, I wanted people to go, I can't believe they just did that.
And that seems to be happening because I've watched it with a few people now, like in a few different like friend groups and stuff. And oh my god, like just watching people's faces and knowing what's coming next as well. Like it is so funny just to watch it with new people and then seeing their reactions.
Yeah, it's meant to be like that. That's how you're meant to watch it, with a group of people and the reactions and stuff like that.
That's amazing. Yeah. And so yeah, and I mean, unfortunately at the end of the day with some of those bad reviews, you really truly just can't please everybody.
Oh
Yeah,
god, we know. Yeah.
but there's more good ones than there is bad ones.
Well, see,
Um,
that's something as well. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Like
so
every movie gets hate. I seen one review and it was like, oh, what was it? It was like, oh, it's terrible, but it's still better than the Terrifier films. And I was like, you're using Terrifier to slate us? Like, I love the Terrifier films. So yeah, you really can't please anyone. I was like, okay, so like that was a reminder for me that even Terrifier and stuff gets hate. But that's movies that I love, so I was like, I think it was like one of those moments, like when I first started reading the reviews. Obviously, I've never sort of been in that situation before. I was like, starting to get in my head a little bit, but then you read stuff like that, and then you see so many ridiculous ones, like the ones we've already said, and I'm like, nah, like it doesn't bother me anymore. But all the good reviews are so good to see, though, that you people really are enjoying it.
Yeah,
it's a polarizing movie.
it is.
People love it or hate it.
Yeah, and I mean that comes with the horror genre itself. Like, you have one group like who will eat that stuff up, like who love horror movies, but you also get the other side, like who thinks that they're bad and that they think they're immoral. It's like, no movie is for everyone, and every movie has its target audience, and ultimately people do have their right to have their opinion about the matter. But when somebody says that they don't like horror movies, what they actually mean to say, without even realizing it, is that they're not the target market.
Exactly. And here's the thing: even when it comes to horror fans, it's quite polarizing because if you're a fan of The Exorcist, or did you see the new Nosferatu?
Yes, I have. Yeah, and
Okay,
a lot of people are pretty divided on the mustache.
right, but that's a very serious, long, broody, as is The Exorcist. These movies are very serious. You know, then you get the Toxic Avenger, where he's, killing everybody with a mop. Classic Nukem High, the trauma films. If you go into our film expecting Nosferatu, you're going to hate Shiver Me Timbers. If you go into our film, you're a fan of trauma or the comedy horrors, Psycho Gorman or anything like that, you're going to love our movie. And it's just knowing that, what to expect. I was not a big fan of Nosferatu. I found it boring. My cinema seat started getting sore on my, because I was not, just too long and not enough. It was too indulgent for me. Then I went to see The Monkey, and I could have watched it on a loop because I just thought it was brilliant. It was ridiculous. So it's knowing what kind of horror it is.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know what? I've heard people say the same thing about that new Nosferatu, and of course, me myself, since I've seen the movie too, I can see why people would say it, but I also can see why people on the other side would say that they loved it. But yeah, the one thing I definitely do agree on, the mustache. I get where they were going for, because Dracula did have a mustache in the book. It was pretty distracting.
It was hugely distracting. But
Yeah.
it was also just, I don't know. We've all seen the Dracula story a million times.
We have, yeah.
What's happening. There's no spoilers. Um, it's whereas you go to see Final Destination, and the guy gets sucked into the MRI machine, and then with all the piercings, and that was fun. That's fun.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean both are very very different movies, and yeah, Amy, out of curiosity, have you seen that new Nosferatu?
I haven't.
If
No,
I
not
can
yet.
mustache you a question.
Now I'm curious because I didn't know that there was a mustache in it. So now now I'm like, what? I did not know that.
You
No,
do.
not yet. No, but it is on the watch list. So now I'll be watching it for that mustache.
It's
Yeah,
hard to miss.
yeah. Like we've said, it's very distracting. I mean, Bill Skarsgård did an incredible job. You know, like with playing Count Orlok. Yeah, but that mustache is like. I mean, that would be like saying, you know, after we've gone so used to seeing Freddy Krueger not have a mustache, that saying that in the very next movie he's gonna come in with a big old mustache or dreadlocks. It's like, you really stand
Yeah,
out, buddy.
Give
yeah, I
Popeye
know.
a mustache, Paul.
Yeah, no. What I can tell you is we're toying with the idea of the sequel because our Popeye didn't have the forearms, so we might be giving him the forearms. We're not sure yet. We got to see what it looks like because our guy, he doesn't wear a sailor suit. He's more army fatigue, you know. He's got beret. Um, he's more of a Rambo Popeye, our guy, you know. So we're working on that right now.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool, and yeah, and so I mean, I'm definitely gonna be really excited to see the sequel. I mean, heck, I mean, when it comes out, I mean, heck, when it comes out, I mean, knowing that me and my podcast team absolutely have done trailer reactions before, and I mean, we certainly even could do a trailer reaction for the sequel.
Well, it's a teaser. I'll make sure you get it.
Right, sorry, the teaser, sorry.
It is a long teaser, a scene. Um, I'm going to get it to you. I'm going to make sure you get it.
That'd be
You
cool.
know.
I'd like to
All
see the
right,
reaction.
thank you so much, and yeah, and so and then so yeah, and so that about does her. And so, but besides the sequel, is there anything else that you two would want my audience to be aware of?
Just go see Shiver Me Timbers, the first one. I mean, it's a lot of fun. Don't see it alone. See it with a group of friends.
Yep.
Um, and expect hilarity, gore with a slut. It's a kind of cosmic horror, wouldn't you say? Um, you know, with the meteors and everything. It's cosmic horror with a slice of cheese. That's what you get with
Love
Shiver
it.
Me Timbers. Um, and it's just fun. People should see it. You know, it's fun, and it's there's a lot of great public domain horrors out there now. You know, it's a real new
Oh yeah.
genre. Um, we just don't take ourselves seriously in this film. We're having a great laugh with it, and I recommend it. You know, for that reason. You know, that's the reason to go have a laugh and to experience the madness and ridiculousness of Shiver Me Timbers.
All right, cool. But yeah, thank you, Paul, so much for sharing that. But yeah, and now Amy, it's now your turn.
Totally the same. Yeah, go watch it. Hopefully you like it. I'm sure you will. It's had great reviews so far, and yeah, watch it before the teaser comes out for the trailer, for the next one, and then you'll hopefully get a little surprise there as well, which I think people are gonna love. So yeah, honestly, go have a laugh with it, have fun with it, and yeah, hopefully you like it.
And I also want to say it's available on in the US. It's available on gosh, pretty much all streaming services, including obviously the big ones, Amazon Prime and Apple. But it's on all the other ones as too. It's on like 12 different streaming services over there. I think Comcast and all that. You know, everywhere, all of America, and it's available on Blu-ray and DVD. You can buy it in all your wherever you buy your Blu-rays and DVD, including Amazon. And in the UK, it's on Amazon, Apple, Rakuten, Sky, Australia, Amazon, Apple, same in New Zealand. And it's also going to be coming out in Japan. And we're currently talking to India. So it's going to be going around, you know, it spreads. It's like a virus. There's no getting rid of it.
Cool. But
Oh,
yeah,
I will say as well, the soundtrack is also available to buy, and I know we're all loving the soundtrack. So yes,
Oh,
go
definitely,
and
yeah.
find that on Spotify and well, iTunes, stuff like that as well.
And it's on Klaatu Records. They've got an actual hard copy, which, give me 1 second.
But
This
yeah,
is the, can you see this?
I can
Yes.
see it. It's a little bit
Yeah.
blurry.
Yeah, it's hard with a camera, you know, but it's a hard copy. It's on Klaatu. It's got a pull-out booklet, stills and everything. And that's Klaatu Records, which is Klaatu. And they also do the soundtrack to a few trauma films. One of the Toxic Avengers. They've got all that stuff. And Shiver Me Timbers movie.
Awesome. But yeah, I definitely will be sure to leave a link in the description, like for people to follow you both on Instagram. And yeah, thank you both so much for taking time out of your day to be here. And you all have a fantastic day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. We definitely will keep in touch.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Of course, anytime.